It got to the point where we were eating at the food pantry ourselves.
Wow.
It really got tough.
We're really excited to hear about Kinship, how God is using it, and just your heart behind it.
We were going to get involved with one orphanage, my wife and I were, and it grew from there. We didn't have enough money to support all this, but it got to the point where we were eating at the food pantry ourselves.
Wow.
It really got tough. We just didn't think about once you start working with orphans, then you have to support them. They all keep eating and the bill gets bigger and bigger, you know. So it grew out of that, but it really started from one morning. I was reading the Bible and I came across James 1:27. And true religion is caring for orphans and widows in their distress. And I was really struck by that. I realized it was all about lost and hurt people. That's what God really wanted us to do. And so when I started looking up widows and orphans, they're always together in the Bible. There's a section where Job is talking about widows and orphans. He was describing his righteousness by saying that he took care of the fatherless and the widows, and he made the widow's heart sing. And the most righteous guy in the world that God's talking about it was obvious to me. There was something here, and I think I got a call. And it went on from there. We thought we were going to do one that was 3 and 5 and, a few hundred later. But
that's incredible. So just by you saying yes and having an open heart, just to see what God has done and where you are now, I mean, could you ever have foreseen it becoming what it is today?
We did not. Sometimes that happens in about 3 months. We'll say, wow, 3 months ago, I didn't think this was going to happen, and it's happening. But he's so faithful to us, and he gets people involved with us that we've never met before. And, companies or maybe a Girl Scout troop that just decides they want to do something, and it keeps going. And there's lots of buildings, lots of kids. I probably baptized close to 20,000 kids myself. There's a lot of kids that have been involved with this.
That's incredible. Can you tell us a bit about some of the different things that the organization does in different nations around the world?
We rescue these orphans and widows, and we're trying to bring up a generation of kids and take advantage of resiliency of kids and their ability to change the world. We sort of model this after the Bible. If it doesn't fit in the Bible, then we don't do it. So one of the things is, how did Jesus raise disciples? He had some young kids, young men, and some women that were with him, and they walked with him, they talked with him, they cried with him, they prayed with him, they did everything with him. And he was raising disciples. We looked at the kids and we kind of knew that's what we wanted to do, what Jesus does. We realized that everything has to have a church of some sort, some place to gather. That brings in the community into it too. So instead of having kids coming in and staying in a residential home, or Kinship isn't really an orphanage. So the church is there, and they don't just go down the street and go to church. The pastor lives right there on the property, and sometimes right in the home. Sometimes the pastors are the surrogate fathers. That's the component that, the biblical component that holds this whole thing together. It all starts with the church, a place where people can gather. We look to build into the whole community around the kinship.
So the heart is to have a collaborative, really function within the church of people who are able to help walk with these kids throughout their life into that transition into adulthood.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
and
incredible.
having widows as caregivers, because widows are always with the orphans when they're mentioned in the Bible. So, we have areas where we have 100 widows that we help their families, and all through one of the kinships.